As I was saying, this first edition of the Cortina Digital Forum is about to finish with 2 very full days, more than 60 speakers, hundreds of participants connected remotely online, 15 sessions, a very dense agenda on digital topics. We talked about artificial intelligence a while ago, we talked about data, tourism, we talked about sustainability, health, and very many other topics. Now we close and stay with us a bit longer. We close now by welcoming our next key speaker in this closing session of the forum. So welcome to Assuntela Messina, who's Under Secretary to Technological Innovation and Digital Transition at the Italian government. So I leave you the floor immediately for your keynote speech. Thank you, and good evening, everybody. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank and say hello to all those who are following us, and really thank the organizers of the Cortina Digital Forum for inviting me to this event, and for the great job they've done these 2 days. I mean, these 2 days have been extraordinary in terms of, participation and level of speakers. These have been 2 important days during which we tackled different topics, all top-level topics. And in fact, the most important thing is that they've all been tackled in a very open and inclusive manner, allowing many of us to follow the debate and the different reports. So that process of knowledge and responsibility, which is so important now, and it was an important occasion because it allowed us to tackle these topics that are new to some and which are being updated at all times by others. That's why this is a necessary, useful, and precious initiative, also to allow everybody to discover a bit more or strengthen the knowledge of some, so that we can better share ideas about this digital universe that can help us a lot in our daily lives within our communities. We're going through a crucial phase. We are going through a crucial moment for our country and for Europe as a whole. So the time of COVID-19, the time of pandemic have really represented and still represent a moment within which our awareness, our conscience, our wanting to be a community must become even stronger through also digital technologies that allow us to have an even more direct relationship despite the social distancing we're forced to. But let's also say that the contribution of our countries to the reprocessing, not just of our lives, but of the different political strategies that need to be put on the field, is another extremely important element that needs to be taken into account by all of us together. Let's think about the huge opportunities coming from the next generation EU. This is a real example of this common will of united Europe to work together through a huge program of funding, which looks at the future and which looks at the future of new generations in particular. So we have a perspective of development that poses at the center those equity and inclusion, as well as digitalization and sustainability, environmental sustainability principles at the very core. Let's take this into account. Inclusion and equity also through digitalization is what really counts. And also Italy will benefit from important resources, and the majority, a good part of these resources will be used for digitalization. Digitalization and digital transition actually represent a cultural and social dimension, an anthropological dimension. And digital transition, allow me to say, requires a transition in our capability of relating continuously with what's new by betting on ourselves and betting on our knowledge and making this moment, a moment of transformation that will obviously involve all our lives, facilitating the relationship between citizens and public administration, for example, or between the government and businesses, without leaving anybody behind, because the digital transition will allow us to deal with a new set of rights, both for citizens and businesses alike. I want to actually stress this concept, the concept of what is digital and the concept of access to digital data as a right, the right of accessing data that will allow us to, our societies to evolve within those social equity parameters that must be at the basis of our democracies and of the choices we're going to make today and in the future to strengthen our democracies. What does this mean? Well, it means that when we work at legal level, but not only at legal level, we should try and work and get coordinated to guarantee a higher level of efficiency of our processes, to cut costs, to eliminate barriers, to streamline relations. I mean, this is an extremely important opportunity. It's a unique opportunity. And as stressed by the Minister for Digital Transition, Mr. Vittorio Colau, all this is going to be useful to totally redesign the socioeconomic and relational context that characterized our society until today. So it is important to seize this opportunity. This is a unique growth and development chance, especially because we want to give new generations and young people a more equal, modern and speedy system that can award to merit without leaving anything behind. And so the investments foreseen by the Next Generation EU and the Recovery Fund will be decisive. First of all, a fast and stable connection for everybody through the development of the necessary infrastructure. Why will this be important and what will be important? Well, it will be important to reach this target as quickly as possible. We hope we can do it within 2026. And then, obviously, also develop services that can simplify and improve the life of citizens within their communities by creating the conditions for a full digital citizenship through digital identity and also through digital domicile. And then also work for the public administration through efficient systems based on safe and interoperable cloud systems. That's why the first step is undoubtedly that of accelerating this plan to extend the infrastructures, the digital infrastructure. And then another extremely important thing is that all this digital transition process can take place in a very homogeneous manner without, again, leaving rural areas or mountainous areas or islands behind, but rather by creating homogeneity in the opportunities being provided to citizens. And this must be, and citizens must be accompanied in their will and desire to start companies that are going to be useful for our communities. To reach all this, obviously, it is necessary to also have a good connection amongst institutions and companies so that services can be provided. I mean, it is important for this huge opportunity to redefine a correct connection between the business and the government aimed at interconnecting the different parties to achieve a target, a common target that puts at the center the well-being of people and so the common good. We know very well there are also risks implied in this digital transition, but in the various reports that led to the very interesting debate of these 2 days, some of this topic have already been discussed. But anyway, those risks can be absorbed by the will to start political measures and political actions that look at the common good and that guarantee primary rights to citizens. The right to access is a human right, especially now. We understood during the pandemic, because we understood how this difference between the north, the south, the peripheries, I mean, this difference has created a new social category, that of those who are digitally poor. And so we require coordinated policies that actually aim at guaranteeing equality. We need a common dimension with equal opportunities for everybody. It's important to talk about safety too when it comes to digital transition. So we're talking about safety of data, safety of identity, safety of people and of the community at large. That's why many resources also coming from the Ministry of Digital Transition will be invested into strengthening and modernizing cybersecurity platforms to protect citizens and to protect infrastructures, because also safety is a citizen's right, a right that must provide everybody the possibility of living in this digital world in a very safe manner, to guarantee individual citizenship. So the digital transition is an opportunity for individuals, for society at large. It's not something that has been devised for the few, but rather made available to avoid inequalities which unfortunately still exist. Data tell us there is a need to act quickly. In Italy, some numbers are worrying. The digitalization index of society and of the industry shows that our country is still lagging behind. We still have difficulties in carrying out digital transformation here in this country. So given this data, which might be alarming, it is important to insist, because the lack of tools and the lack of skills automatically becomes also a reason of being excluded from the benefits the digital society brings about, with socio-economic and cultural damage. So the effort is that of eliminating the digital divide, which creates inequality, avoid conditions that would exclude some territories to the benefit of others, and act to strengthen skills. These are the three fundamental points. When we talk about strengthening skills, we talk about the idea of taking into account also those categories that have problems with digitalization, say the elderly, or the gender digital divide, or the linguistic or cultural digital divide of people who immigrated, or people in prison. So we want to launch a program of actions and measures which, as I said at the beginning, will not leave anybody behind and will allow everybody to be on equal grounds to express their personal dimension in relation with others and in the exclusive interest of the idea of defending the dignity of all of us. To conclude, I think, and I repeat this once again, the topic of access to data must become a human right. Our democracies must really put this at the center of their choices, thinking once again that digital transition must fill gaps rather than increase inequalities. Digital transition must be an inclusion tool rather than an exclusion tool. And I think that through a common effort, this virtuous connection, this connection which is based on social issues will allow each of us to provide his or her own contribution to a transition which will certainly bring about more wealth to our communities and to our territories. So thank you very much, and I keep on following in this interesting concluding moments.
Thank you very much indeed, Undersecretary. You have found the most suitable words to close our two-day conference, and you gave us a good overview on all the issues concerning the digital, touching upon fairness, inclusion, access, which are pivotal points. And on the theme of access, I'd like to welcome our last speaker, Mr. Chris Hugh, who's Executive Director at the Tony Blair Institute. Are you connected?
I'm here. Hello? There we are.
Eccoci qua.
Prego, a lei la parola per il suo intervento.
To you the floor for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm really delighted to be able to join you today. And thank you too to the organisers for putting on this event. I know they've worked tirelessly to make it happen and should be very proud of what they've achieved. It's a real privilege and honour for me to be with you at the end of 2 inspiring days discussing the importance of the digital revolution, internet access and connectivity. This year is the 32nd birthday of the World Wide Web. In their open letter to mark the occasion, Sir Tim Berners-Lee and Rosemary Leith, co-founders of the Web Foundation, reminded us all how important the web is to young people around the world. But while we often talk about digital natives, still, 1/3 of young people around the world have no internet access at all. Stop just for a moment and think about what the last year would have been like if you hadn't had access to the internet when so much else stopped. This, for me, is a stark reminder about what work remains to be done and why events like the Cortina Digital Forum and the actions that flow from them are so important. At the Tony Blair Institute and in the Technology and Public Policy programme that we host, we work tirelessly to equip leaders to take on the big global challenges in the world today. In a moment, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how we see internet access in the context of the global policy priorities after the pandemic. But first, I just want to recap a little bit of our journey over the last couple of days. This first edition of the Cortina Digital Forum has brought together a wonderful, diverse group of people and organisations pledging to support remote areas and bring them fully into the 21st century. We've heard more than 30 contributions reflecting perspectives from communities, business and politics. And the Cortina Declaration brings this vision to life with leaders at all levels, from local to pan-European, committing to work together to move this agenda forward. Now, connectivity is ultimately about people and what brings them together. So it's fitting that we've been looking at the digital opportunities for communities all around Europe. We've touched upon the many ways that connectivity can empower people and make our lives better. And our experience with COVID-19 has shown how important the digital revolution is for our shared future. Tourism is a key contributor to the economies of many countries, both in Europe and around the world. and digital technologies are now key to upskilling people and creating jobs in this vital industry. Transportation is another huge opportunity for new technologies and better connectivity to help people move around more affordably and more reliably, whilst also reducing our impact on the planet. In healthcare, advances in technology have been essential both in developing treatments and vaccines, but also to ensure people have access to the medical care and advice they need on a daily basis. It was great to hear about how we build back better after the pandemic and how we put digital and technology at the heart of Europe's recovery plan. As Director General Roberto Viola puts it, a developed nation without the digital competences needed for the 21st century cannot thrive. And the G20 will have a vital role to play in improving connectivity and social inclusion. So bringing forward views and engagement from young people, women and business groups working toward the summit later this year is critical. Our journey together over these last 2 days brings us to a natural conclusion, that the digital and technology revolution is central to the prospects for nations, economies, and citizens in the 21st century. Now, we've talked a lot about digital and connectivity at home. I'd like briefly to take a step back and consider the global view. The pandemic has highlighted both the significance of the internet and the enduring scale of the global digital divide. Many of us have managed to continue to work, learn, and stay in touch, even as lockdowns and restrictions shut our workplaces and confined us to our homes. But half of the world's population remains unconnected. The pandemic forced 94% of learners worldwide to continue their education at home, but children around the world were excluded because they lived somewhere without network coverage, because they didn't have access to a device, or because data was simply too expensive. Work by our institute and others has shown that whilst closing the global digital divide is expensive, the benefits of doing so significantly outweigh the costs. It's estimated that closing the gap by 2030 would cost in the region of $450 billion US, but the economic return would be close to $8.7 trillion US. And finding a meaningful contribution towards the necessary investment from public funds would require member countries of the Development Assistance Committee to commit just a fraction of a percentage of their gross national income. This would fit well with the targets set by the United Nations for development aid, and it's the right way to think for countries facing obligations to the world in the 21st century. So as this time gathers pace, we must recognise internet access as a basic right and work harder to ensure that everyone can benefit from it. If we let this moment pass, then the risk that the digital divide will grow and exacerbate other challenges is real and significant. But if we rise to the moment, the great promise of the internet and the global digital commons is that opportunity need no longer be dependent on geography. The steps leaders need to take are practical. First, stimulate consumer demand to create the right conditions for internet services to be viable. Second, regulatory reforms to facilitate new technologies and competition. And third, global cooperation on financing and upfront investment. You can find a summary of our work and sign up to receive updates on the future of our program at progress.substack.com. But for now, the fact of the matter is this. In the year 2021, we have at our disposal the technology required to connect the world and to change the lives of billions of people. The case for action is clear, and as the world emerges from the spectre of the pandemic and leaders pledge to address the huge challenges it has exposed, ensuring that everyone has access to the global digital commons must be at the heart of a new global consensus. So, to conclude, the digital revolution gives us the power to lift people up and create more opportunities for everyone. Whatever our starting point in this debate, in government, in business, or in civil society, as professionals, as politicians, or simply as citizens, we all have a part to play. And there are good reasons to be optimistic. This forum has highlighted the benefits of open conversations between government and industry, and how the two can work together for the greater good. And we have seen and talked about many of the ways technology and connectivity can bring opportunity to people and communities across the region. There is, of course, much to do. But the direction is clear, and our time together has helped clarify our vision and strengthen our resolve. We know that technology can be a powerful force for good. Let us work together to bring a connected and inclusive world one step closer. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Executive Director of the Tony Blair Institute, who talked about universal access to the web and raised important issues, concluding with a positive note, a message of hope and encouragement for the future. Thanks for having been with us. And now I would like to thank all the speakers, all the guests who took the floor yesterday and today during the Cortina Digital Forum, the various moderators and the hundreds of participants who followed us online. Obviously, we wait for you in Cortina as soon as it will be possible. And now I want to leave the honor of closing this 2 days event to the mayor of Cortina d'Ampezzo, Giampietro Ghedina, and then later to the one and only Sandra Alverà, the founder and president of the Cortina Digital Forum. Good afternoon, my name is Ghedina Giampietro. I'm mayor of Cortina d'Ampezzo, of this municipality, and I think I'm really lucky in this task. It's an important role, it is a prestigious role. Sometimes it's an honor, sometimes it is also a burden, because being the first citizen of possibly the most beautiful mountainous area in the world is not always easy. We came to the end of the Cortina Digital Forum. The organizers are satisfied. Cortina d'Ampezzo is proud of having hosted this first important event, which is an international debate when it comes to digital and when it comes to research. We talked and we will talk about our future. And I must say that Cortina sees in large international events an opportunity of great visibility, a visibility of our city, but also a visibility of our territory, an opportunity to attract investments, which in turn mean the possibility of restructuring the services we provide to our citizens and to tourists who often come to see us. We have already had the Ski World Championships, Cortina 2021, with great success. We are projected towards the Milan Cortina Olympics in 2026, a legacy for young people, a legacy we want to leave to young generations, to our children, the possibility and the opportunity of continuing to live in the mountains. And so I really think that this forum and the debate and discussions that came out of it can certainly give us an important contribution to allow people living in Cortina to stay here, because also other rural remote areas can become important given the opportunities offered by connections and by the digital transition. We can be far and be close at the same time, and the municipality I represent has strongly invested, also thanks to the Ski World Championships, in the digital transition. We have broadband. This last year we invested about 27 million euro for a specific fiber optics laying, and the need to be connected, the need to be always on is important, because it gives this the opportunity to us, people living in the mountains, but also to those who want to come and live and work here in Cortina, to be connected and to be able to work remotely. We've done it this year. This year, during the pandemic, we all worked remotely from a decentralized territory such as Cortina. But being close and connected, we worked with Rome to Venice to New York and to Paris. And this will give the possibility to more and more people to come and live in these beautiful locations, which will become a place where people don't just spend their holidays, but spend their lives with a quality of life which is certainly better than that you might have in a city. So mine wants to, I want to thank all the organizers. I want to thank all the various speakers who came yesterday and today, top-level speakers who spoke from Rome, London, New York, the whole of the world, with the reference point, which is our future and our beloved Cortina, a great logo. So thanks to them, thanks to the institution, thanks to you all, and arrivederci. See you again here next year at the second edition of Cortina Digital Forum in 2022, possibly in presence. And before leaving the floor to the president of Cortina Digital Forum, I would like to thank you once again. So we leave the floor to Sandra Alverà.
Hello, well, thank you, Mayor Giampietro Ghedina, who has prepared this wonderful video for all of us. This is the last goodbye before closing, and he showed us the wonderful Dolomites at Cortina d'Ampezzo. As anticipated, Mrs. Sandra Alverà will have the honor of closing this event. She is one of the founders of the Cortina Digital Forum. Thank you very much on my behalf as well, and thank you all who have followed us until now, and my best wish and hope to be able to meet in person soon at Cortina Digital Forum in Cortina d'Ampezzo itself in 2022. Meanwhile, stay tuned on our social media as well. We're looking forward to having you here. Thank you very much. Mr. Ghedina, for this beautiful video showing Cortina in all its beauty. We have come to the end of this marathon of the Cortina Digital Forum. These have been two intense, moving and wonderful days, but before closing this first Cortina Digital Forum, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you, all of you. Thank you to all of you, and there are very many people who contributed to this event, the representatives of the Italian government, of the European institutions and international organizations, local as well as provincial governments. We are acknowledging all sponsors, and we're grateful to them for their trust and the support from our Italian and European partners, and thanks to the press as well. My most wholeheartedly and most heartfelt thanks on my behalf and Riccardo Mazzucci and Sandra De Rol to the community group and the team of Cortina Digital Forum, who have made this dream become a reality. Thank you very much, and arrivederci.